I really do believe in life that you should go all in. Maybe that's because I lived through a revolution, so I know that life is tenuous. I was born in Iran. My dad worked for a bank that was set up by Chase, and my mom actually did business strategy in the TV business. And my dad got word that he was going to be blacklisted. I was 11 at the time. So we went to the airport with, a suitcase. And I don't know that they knew they would be able to get out of the country or not. It was kind of a risk. And then we boarded the plane and left. I attended in 6th grade in Paris. And after that 1 year, my parents had gone to school in the States, so they decided, when it was clear the revolution was here to stay, that we would move to the States. But honestly, I think a lot of families who are immigrants do things like that in some way, shape, or form. Coming to New York and being at Barnard turned out to be a seminal thing for me. I got to just try so many different things. I was an intern at the Brooklyn Academy of Music. I interned at CNN. I interned for a political consultancy, for a woman who had a Jewish dating service, for a woman who ran a consulting company out of her bedroom, and I worked for a magazine in Paris as an intern. I also felt it was my responsibility to actually get involved, and so I was my freshman class president. I represented the students on the board of trustees. And for me, it was like life was just things to try and experience. And the more I could do it, the more exciting it was. I think one of the things that motivates me at work is being able to have impact. And I think that every job taught me something. Every job taught me how to interact with people. People say to me all the time, how did you know what you wanted to do? Well, I didn't grow up saying like, I'm gonna go be a CMO. I never even knew what that was. I think whatever is in front of you, whatever that opportunity is, you take it until you get to the next thing. But when you do it, you gotta do it 110%. I mean, honestly, I've loved every job that I've had. The Hyatt job was also great. One of the things that was different about that job, which I really enjoyed, was the global nature of that job. Now remember, I grew up in Iran, I lived in Paris, I lived in Buenos Aires, I lived in London, so I was a global kid. And understanding how you take a campaign and you make sure that you actually develop that campaign globally instead of sort of tack on the global piece at the tail end was something I really enjoyed doing. So whether it was working on operationalizing our purpose, which was to care for you to be your best, or redoing the loyalty program and all the branding that went with that, or actually doing global-based segmentation so we really understood our customers from a data and analytics perspective and knew what mattered to them. I think you can also learn a lot by actually tracking your customers' social interactions with you. We were fortunate to partner with a company to help us monitor our social media, but to also use it as a way to gather consumer insights from them. I think I also, whenever I have the opportunity, I made an attempt to engage with our general managers and find out from them who our best customers were and where I could connect with them directly. There's nothing like hearing from your customers, on a day-to-day basis. So a great business has a leader who understands purpose, who has a clear North Star, that then has the ability to rally the troops to take the hill. I think picking a team is critical because you never ever do anything by yourself. I look for people who have very good skills in terms of the expertise for the job, but also have good EQ skills, because a lot of the jobs I've had has required sort of diplomacy of bringing other people along in the fold. I'm also looking for people who are smarter than me. I mean, there's so many things I don't know. My job is almost like an orchestra leader where I bring people in and then let them free to do what they're really good at. I find often as a woman I get asked about work-life balance. I think balance, just like fair, doesn't exist. And I think it's so important to talk about how life is choices and chapters. Sometimes you double down on one and sometimes you double down on another, whether it's work or personal life or whatever. And I think it really matters to be honest about how being a working mom, particularly with some of these jobs, has been difficult. Because I feel like at least then when somebody else is going through it and it's not easy, they don't feel so alone. We're a culture in America where you're defined by your job. So you have to be able to put that aside, and I think a critical thing is having sort of a kitchen cabinet of trusted people you can go to in those moments who can tether you and say to you, don't worry, it's going to be okay. What we have is sort of a desire to have lots of impact, and I think we've learned, and you sort of learn on the first go, that when you're all in, and sometimes when you have limited time and resources, it forces you to be more creative. So it's not just your experiences, your entire reputation is about how you treated people and how you behaved along the way. So, you have to be really cognizant of that, not in a deliberate way, but just in a human way. If it's the right thing for the company, then you do it. You don't worry about the politics and you don't worry about getting credit. If you begin to show results, people will come around. That's really what you have to focus on. Because if you focus on the rest of it, I find that to be unsatisfying and a pretty slippery slope. I grew up in a household with very strong women. My grandmother actually is Russian from birth. She spoke Turkish and Arabic, and when we moved to the States and she came later, she always wanted to take English classes. She was determined to be a lifelong learner. She was famous for her cooking, she sewed, and she was a teacher. And I think when people meet Maman, they always say, oh my God, she's just like you. Even to this day, she can't sit still at 96 or 97. Without question, my family gives me the ultimate joy. It's nice to actually spend time with my husband again. It's been kind of amazing. And the same thing with my kids. I think we're close because we've spent a lot of time together and we've had lots of ups and downs together because life is complicated. Moving to Chicago was a bonding experience because we were all sort of thrown into a new city together, and I will always be grateful for that.